Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Roadkill Entertainment's Video Village podcast. It's been a little while since the last time. Had some personal stuff going on, some family issues that I had to deal with over the past month or so, which, that is what it is. But that kind of put us behind as far as the episodes are concerned. There hasn't really been that much to talk about for month or so. There's been a ton of releases, genre releases that have come out. At least nothing that's come my way. I mean, there might have been a handful of them here and there, but there hasn't been a ton to talk about. I'm still working on getting some guests in here. I think moving forward, I always say this, moving forward, I keep changing my dogma, I guess is what you want to call it. But not really, I just keep kind of updating it more than anything else. I think how I'm going to handle it is there will definitely be an episode around the 15th of every month, which will be just me reviewing, talking, come up with a topic or something like that. And the beginning of the month, like I said, was always going to be episodes with guests, or if I have my co-host, Mike Welch, we'll have a topic and we'll do an episode. So if there is no episode at the beginning of the month, then that just means I couldn't get Mike down, I couldn't get a guest or whatever. But I'll try to stay solid with the middle of the month episodes, around the 16th or so. So that way we can actually, this is something consistent for people to listen to. I mean, there's got to be something for me to talk about, and if there's nothing for me to talk about, I'm just talking into thin air. And I keep coming up with subjects and stuff like that, but it only works so well. I'm going to add a new section to my review thing. Because last episode I talked a bit about vinyl records and stuff like that. And being that this is my show, Video Village, I can pretty much talk about whatever I want to talk about. So I want to, when I do these review shows on my own, I'm going to do a kind of a vinyl review section. A couple minutes. I won't go overboard with it because I know this is more about movies and stuff. But, I'm just going to talk a little bit about maybe some of the new vinyl records that I picked up. I've been getting a lot of stuff. I actually scored my brother-in-law, John. He had a collection of records that he had for years and years and years, and you know how a lot of people's record collections end up. They end up in closets and stuff like that, and nobody's really doing anything with them anymore. So I asked him, I said, hey, can I have them? And he was at first he was a little bit yeah, sure. And then he got a little he didn't want to give them to me because, there's kind of a personal attachment to him. But then he showed up at my parents' house with this crate of 65 records. And let me tell you, he's got some great stuff. He had all the Led Zeppelin albums. He had pretty much all the Motley Crue albums. Most of, I think, all the Roger Waters era Pink Floyd stuff, plus a ton of other just random things, and Quiet Riot, some good metal like White Snake and stuff like that. But I mean, I was all for it, but I'm kind of picky about my record player and what I play on it and the needle and whatnot, so I got to clean all this stuff up. And I'm telling you, the cleaning process has become kind of the bane of my existence because it's kind of a pain in the ass to clean these things properly, especially if you don't have an expensive record cleaning machine, which I don't. I did discover, and a lot of people are probably going to think it's absolutely crazy, that you can use Magic Eraser to just dip the stylus of your record player into Magic Eraser, and that will actually clean all the gunk off. There's a process to it. You can look it up on YouTube. That works. I have been comfortable with the idea of lightly rubbing the Magic Eraser over the grooves of the record. Just kind of, you could feel it in the grooves. And just, brushing that off and then cleaning it with my record brush afterwards. It seems to get a lot of the, just the crap out of the grooves. It quiets the record down a lot. I wouldn't suggest doing this wet or anything like that. And, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it on my expensive 180 gram vinyls or anything like that. But it does work. So that's something that, if you're so inclined, you can do that. I haven't talked too much about the reissues I got. I'm not sure if I mentioned this much in the last episode because I did talk about vinyl just a little bit. If properly done, reissues can sound really good. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go through some of the reissues that I got, and I'm going to tell you what I think how they sound. And I got a pretty decent record player and some halfway decent speakers. We're not talking like super audiophile, but they're studio monitor speakers, and I got to tell you, comparing the CDs of these reissues to the actual 180 gram vinyl, there's no contest with some of them. Some of them are far better than the actual on vinyl through a decent system than the actual CDs. Like, I've done back-to-back comparisons, and like the CDs sound weak. They just don't have that much oomph to them. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But one specific one that's really good, that's supposedly pressed from the original like master of this album, is the very first Van Halen album. Van Halen, like one Van Halen. That album is awesome to begin with. It sounds amazing. It's a Rhino reissue, 180 gram vinyl, so that's great. So if you're into Van Halen and you got a record player, you wanted to start collecting records, that is one to get. It sounds friggin' incredible. I also have the Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction one. That one sounds amazing as well. That one actually sounds far better than the CD. Like, I've compared it back to back with the CD, and there's more life to the music. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're gonna hear some cracks and popples because it's records. But some of the other 180 gram ones, I got a Beach Boys Endless Summer album, because I used to have that album as a kid. That album sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound like it doesn't seem like it probably sounds any better than the actual CD version of that. So if you have the CD and you wanted it on vinyl and you're a vinyl collector, and there is a 180 gram version of that came out, I can't really say whether it sounds any better or not. It's cool to have because it's got the gatefold, but I don't know that it sounds any better than the CD. I got Megadeth, Peace Sells But Who's Buying. That sounds pretty good. I don't think that... The only advantage to that one is the original mixes that Dave Mustaine didn't go in and tinker with. So that's good for that. But yeah, so that one's pretty cool. Merciful Fate, in the, what is it? Don't Break the Oath. Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. That one doesn't sound half bad. That probably sounds about as good as the CD sounds, to be really honest with you, though. So, but if you want to collect them, they do. It is out there, and it's 180 gram vinyl. These are all that I'm talking about right now, 180 gram vinyl, and they sound pretty amazing, like on a good system. Let's see, is there any other ones? I picked up the first 3 Aerosmith albums on 180 gram vinyl. They're these reissues that came out. They're awesome. Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic, and Get Your Wings. They sound amazing. They sound so much better than the current CD versions that exist of these. I mean, it's like night and day. Now, of course, you have to have a good record player, and you have to have at least a decent record player. I've got this Audio-Technica, like, USB record player, but it looks kind of like, if you're into record players, is that there was a Technics 1200 record player that was kind of like the record player to have. It's kind of a mock-up of that. It's a direct drive motor. It's not a belt, and it's pretty awesome. It sounds great. It's got the weighted tone arm and with the anti-skate and the counterweight and stuff like that. So it plays everything nicely. But I got that plugged into my my Roland. Actually, they're stereo micro monitor MA8s. I don't even think they make these anymore, though. I use them for my studio, my recording studio. I've got that directly plugged into that using the line out, because it has a phono out and a line out. I'm using the line out. And it sounds nice. It sounds awesome. It's a really good setup just to listen to music. I don't know. I find myself listening to a lot more music lately than I was before. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if that's the type of thing you're into. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of any other ones that I have. I mean, those are basically my 180 gram ones that I've got. No, I got Pearl Jam, the first album that came out in a double gatefold with the remastered version and the original version. Oddly enough, I think the original version of it sounds better on vinyl than the remastered version. The remastered version just sounds very digital. It sounds a lot better on the actual CD. That's one that you don't have to rush out and get unless you're a big collector, because that one doesn't sound... I wouldn't think that sounds that much better than the CD. It's just kind of cool to have if you want to collect records and you're into that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's about it for the ones that I can think of that I've got that are 180 gram. I've got the Eagles Hotel California on its way. Oh, I also have an Ozzy Osbourne box set. It was a Blizzard of Oz Diary of a Madman collectible set that came out with CDs and the records. Now, the records are at least like 160 gram. I don't know if they're 180 gram. They sound pretty damn good. But from everything that I've read, they're taken off of digital masters and not original analog masters. And you can tell because there's some slight changes on the CD versions that are on the records as well. And they sound decent. I had some problems with those records, though. Unless you have a properly weighted tone arm, personally, I had some real issues where it was kind of, the needle was bouncing around. But they seem to be okay now with the better turntable that I have. But, yeah. So that's my little vinyl review section. I've got tons of other... Oh, I've got some... okay, I'll talk about horror movie soundtracks, but this is cool. I've got Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes from One Way Static, or Light in the Attic, I think is the distributor in the United States. Those sound pretty damn good, actually. The Last House on the Left one is awesome. I got that as a gift from my buddy Mike. That's pretty damn cool. That's just got great music by David Hess. That's a great soundtrack just to listen to. The Hills Have Eyes one is a bunch of like cues from the movie. It's basically all the cues. It's cool. It's cool to have. Unless you're a big horror movie soundtrack person, there's a lot of just stuff on there. There's some sound effects on there and everything. It's kind of neat though to have as a collectible. So I like the One Way Static stuff. There's a Death Waltz company that I want to get into picking up some of their stuff. But yeah, so those are the ones that I have so far. And I have a lot of like regular vinyl albums that sound pretty damn good. And I can tell you just from my own personal experience, as far as albums that sound great, all right? The Go-Go's first album, Beauty and the Beat, which I've been listening to a lot for some reason, sounds awesome. The original pressing vinyl sounds great, actually. AC/DC, Back in Black, sounds amazing. It sounds far better than the friggin' CD version that exists of it. It's got so much more oomph to it. And this is the original. This isn't the reissue. I didn't actually buy the reissue on this one yet. I don't think I'm going to either, because I've read that they don't match up to the originals. I have a couple of Billy Joel albums, The Stranger, 52nd Street, and Glass Houses, and they all sound far superior to their original, their CD versions that are out there right now. I guess they remixed them or remastered them at some point. They just don't have the same life to them. They sound so much better on the original vinyl pressings. If you can find an original or a reissue from like the 80s or something like that, that's before the digital era. Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff like that. I have Motley Crue, the original, the first album. I want to say, Too Fast for Love? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Motley Crue's very first album. I think Too Fast for Love, yeah. Sounds awesome. That sounds amazing on LP. It sounds so much better than anything I've ever heard before. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I'm kind of rambling around here and just saying stuff. But, if I got something to talk about as far as, like, vinyl records are concerned, if I get a new one that I think that sounds pretty good, I'll bring it up and I'll just let people know. I mean, of course, I want to... we have there's comment sections on all the pages as well that this gets posted on. If anyone wants to leave a comment or you got a question, you can write to the Roadkill Facebook page. You can write to you can write to the website. I think, yeah, you can write to the website. You can hit us up on a bunch of different areas. Everywhere where you can find this podcast, there's some sort of messaging system that you can actually, you can actually get to me from. So if you got any questions and anyone has any actual questions and they want to just ask me, to review something, or if I have something and they want to know about it, Blu-rays, movies, anything like that, I'll gladly, it'll give me something to talk about. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking for something right here. Just give me a moment. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to give a shout out to Seth Brenner. At least that's his handle on Facebook as well. He wrote me a really nice message to the Roadkill Entertainment page to let me know that he enjoys the podcast and that he likes listening to it. Thank you, Seth. I mean, that's awesome to know that somebody's actually paying attention to me talking. At least it gives me a reason to talk. So I wanted to say that's our first and only message or appreciation about the podcast so far. So I really like the fact that he, wrote to me and said that, and I appreciate it, and thank you very much, Seth, and I keep listening, and sorry for the break. Like I said, I had some personal issues that I had to deal with, but yeah, so... But anyway, I think we're going to move on to the regular stuff for this episode this week. I got some Blu-ray reviews here. I'll do a couple of them here. One I want to talk about first. For a main reason is because I am getting so frustrated with Full Moon Entertainment, okay? Charles Band seems like a great guy, and he's done a lot for the independent film industry, so to speak. But the QC department at Full Moon Entertainment, Full Moon Features, or is it Full Moon Features? Full Moon Features really needs to get their acting gear and figure out what and see what's going on. Or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. All I know is lately I've had nothing but crap from Full Moon Features. Every time they release something, there's something wrong with the disc. It's defective. It doesn't play right. It doesn't. And I've got some stuff. I've got the Puppet Master series, the Subspecies series, and those are okay for the most part. But I just got my buddy Mike. This release has actually been kind of like delayed a little bit too. But he was at Monster Mania, the convention, and he told me that at the Full Moon table they had Tourist Trap, because I'm both big. Well, I turned him on to Tourist Trap, but I'm a huge fan of the movie Tourist Trap, and I've been really excited for the Blu-ray release of this movie, like really psyched. And as like I do with all other with most of the Blu-ray releases, I sell off my DVD, to upgrade to Blu-ray. I should probably stop doing that because I've been screwed a few times with releases that are actually like they have problems. But I'm still checking the disc out to make sure that it's not my disc, but it seems to be an overall mastering problem. Okay. Most of the movie Tourist Trap looks great. The disc is cool. It's got like a half-hour documentary with interview with the director, David Schmoller, yeah, who also did like Puppet Master and stuff like that. So yeah, there's an interview with him on there, and it's like a little documentary type thing. That's pretty cool. There's some stills, and it's a good little. There's a commentary. It's a good special edition for the movie Tourist Trap. I think there's a company called 88 Films out of the UK, and their stuff is region free, that also releases the Full Moon stuff, and I may start getting my Full Moon stuff from them because apparently they do a better job pressing the discs than Full Moon does. Full Moon Features in the United States. But it's cool. The cover looks great. It's the original poster art. It's a really nice looking cover. But let me get to the annoyance, all right? The thing that just pissed me off. Last night I watched this, actually. I was so excited about this. My buddy Mike bought it for me as a gift, and I'm really psyched. Thank you, Mike. However, the most of the movie looks fine. It's an older movie. It has... it could have been a better encode on the actual Blu-ray disc, but, it has its... It looks like an old film. It's cool. It's a little dark, but you watch it with the lights off and you can see everything pretty fine. As the movie progresses, though, there's a few sections that have some weirdness to them, so to speak, of some minor little just things. One of them's kind of like a weird light anomaly. It either looks like the camera was really friggin' dirty when they filmed this movie, or there was something in the transfer equipment that created like a weird speck that kind of stayed there for a while. That I've seen this movie a million times. I don't ever remember seeing that little light spot. It almost looks like a worn spot where the light was coming through on a transfer unit. It's hard to describe. It's for about 5 minutes in the movie, and then it goes away. So that's fine, no problem. You get to the last 15 minutes of the movie. All of a sudden, the movie starts to do this weird frame skipping thing. It doesn't go out of sync, which is so weird because the movie doesn't ever go out of sync. It looks like badly converted 24 frame. Like if you've ever seen like something that wasn't 24 frames per second converted to 24 frames, it has this weird jumpy quality to it, like where it skips a frame every couple of frames. And there's a weird jerky motion to it. It kind of sort of looks like that. I don't know. It's a bit distracting when you're watching the movie, and I thought that it was, there was something wrong with the disc, and I just kept checking it back, and it's the same. At a certain point in the movie, actually, if you've ever seen the movie Tourist Trap, there's a section where one of the main characters tries to escape, is a male character, and he jumps through a window out of this old house, and he runs away. This is within the last 15 minutes of the movie. And from that point to the end of the movie, it's kind of consistent with this weird, almost like frame drops that come every couple of seconds. And you can see it's in the motion. Like if somebody moves their arm, you can see like a few frames missing here and there. It does that for the rest of the movie. It is watchable. It never goes out of sync. I don't know what the hell happened to this movie when they were transferring it. There's a lot of white film speckles there. Maybe it was really badly damaged, because it almost seems like from film reels tend to be around 20 minutes, because I worked as a projectionist, so I know this. But it almost seems like the final reel that they transferred was a mess. There was something wrong with it, and it got screwed up. So I don't know if they're gonna replace this or swap it or anything. Maybe I'll write to them and see if there's some kind of replacement program or something for it, or if they fixed it or not. But I think this is the way that this disc actually is, because the documentary with David Schmoller has footage from the movie in it. And when they show scenes from the tail end of the movie, the last 15 minutes of the movie, it has the skips in the actual image. So that says to me it's the actual source that was transferred to Blu-ray, that was encoded for Blu-ray. So, it is what it is, but I'm getting kind of pissed off at Full Moon, because all Charlie Band does is push a streaming service, and their products are crap. They're coming out like shit. I don't know. I mean, if you like Tourist Trap, pick it up. Maybe if you can get your hands on the import, the 88 Films version, maybe that version's better. I don't know. There's not too much information about this out there yet, because not a lot of people have been able to get their hands on it yet. But that's my rant about Tourist Trap, okay? So Tourist Trap. The next thing I want to talk about is John Waters' Hairspray. It came out on Blu-ray. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not. A lot of people know the remake/musical version of it that came out over the past couple of years, which I love. Which I was skeptical about at first, because I'm a big John Waters fan, but I actually ended up liking it quite a bit. But after rewatching the original Hairspray, I mean, it's just a great friggin' movie, man. I mean, you got Sonny Bono, Divine, Debbie Harry, Ricky Lake, Jerry Stiller. I mean, this is a friggin' hilarious movie. And it's PG, which is funny, because most of John Waters' stuff is like raunchy, like NC-17 like humor, or hard R for that, definitely, on most of his stuff. But this was his quieter period. He was trying to, break out into the mainstream a little bit more. I think he just had this story that he wanted to tell. That it was, all about the Corny Collins show, something similar to what he used to listen to when he was growing up. It's like an American Bandstand, but like a local version of an American Bandstand type thing. And about it focuses around the kids that dance on the show, and you've got Tracy Turnblad, who's Blad, right? Blad, Tracy Turnblad, Tracy Turnblad, who Ricky Lake plays, and it was her kind of like debut role as well. And Divine plays her mother. If you're familiar with Divine is actually Glenn Milstead is his actual name, and he dresses in drag in John Waters movies. And in this movie, he plays Ricky Lake's mom. But this is like his kind of his breakthrough role, and it's kind of sad, because right after the movie came out, he passed away, and he never really got to appreciate that this movie did well for John Waters. And this was kind of it made him a household name, and that's what he just wanted to be famous, and he never really got to appreciate that. But it's kind of a sad story. But anyway, yeah, so Hairspray, great stuff. It's a fun movie. Tracy Turnblad and her friend, they go and audition for the Corny Collins show, the American Bandstand type show, and a lot of silly humor, over-the-top humor, if you're familiar with John Waters type movies. And Tracy Turnblad ends up becoming a dancer on the show. And I mean, if you've seen the remake, the plot is pretty much exactly the same. They even use some of the dialogue, but they just make songs where there weren't songs, obviously, in the original version. Sonny Bono and Debbie Harry are hilarious, playing the parents of the snotty girl who basically doesn't want Tracy to be on the show because she's taken her spotlight and stuff like that. But it's a fun movie, and the Blu-ray that came out is actually pretty cool, because it's got a bunch of bonus features on it. If you had the DVD, I'm pretty sure all this stuff was on the DVD prior. There was a double feature DVD and a single one that came out. The double feature one had Pecker with it, I think. It's part of this John Waters volume collection that also came out in a box set. It's been released a couple times. But this has I think, it doesn't say anything about commentary. It says vintage interviews, but I think there's a commentary by John Waters on here, but I'm not sure. I can't really tell. Because all it says is special features include vintage interviews with John Waters, Ricky Lake, and Divine. But there's plenty of good stuff. The transfer is actually pretty good. It's not bad at all. And, I enjoy the movie a lot, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So it just came out on Blu-ray. John Waters Hairspray. It's pretty cheap. It can be had for relatively cheap. I also picked up, because I'm a fan of the movie Chicago. Actually, for some reason I like this movie. I don't know. It's grown on me. When I first saw it in the movie theater, I liked it, and then I watched it again. I thought it was kind of blah. And my mother was kind of a big fan of it. I'm into musicals, and I watched it again because of her, because she really liked it. And it kind of grows on me every time I watch it. But they just released a brand new version of it. It's called the Chicago Diamond Edition. It's really cheap. You can have it. It's like $10. You can find it for like $10 in most places. However, they did fix the sound. This has 7.1 Dolby True HD sound, and I don't have 7.1 set up. I only have 5.1, so I can't really tell. But it does have a very full soundscape. The sound is incredible. It sounds really, really good. I think it sounds better than the last Blu-ray, because I did have the last one, and I sold that one back, traded that one in, and then I bought this new version. And the transfer on this is far superior. It looks like film. You can tell that they probably did some stuff digital, like they finished the movie digitally, and some stuff can only be taken off of a specific master, because some of it actually looks kind of, I don't know, it looks processed. But then it's always like when there's a dissolve in the movie, or like some kind of effect going on the screen. So that's probably why. But generally, overall, the whole movie has a really nice filmic look to it, and it looks great. There's plenty of bonus features on here. There's a bunch of crap, which is really funny because they don't list any of the bonus features on the back of the box. But there are a bunch of bonus features. Let's see. Does it? No, nowhere on this box does it. 2 hours of all new content, whatever that means. But there's a lot of stuff on here. I've never really watched all the bonus features, but I'm sure there's some good stuff on there. So if you're into that, check out Chicago. Now, this is just going to be kind of an honorary mention, because I literally just saw these movies and I felt like I really wanted to talk about them. For a long time, I've been wanting to watch the Breakin' movies again. Breakin' 1 and Breakin' 2. And actually, I want to see Beach Street, because I've never seen Beach Street, so I'm going to try to hunt that down and check it out. And if I like it, I'll talk about it on here probably. Okay, these movies are getting harder and harder to find. The DVDs aren't that easy to find. And the DVD versions that are out there are crappy full-frame transfers. And I refuse to pay $15 for a crappy full-frame transfer of a movie that should be released again. So what sucks is they haven't come out on Blu-ray in the United States. And the DVDs are getting harder and harder to find. Actually, on Amazon, they still have them, but some of them don't even list on Amazon anymore. So I think it's kind of out of print. But it's still floating around out there. So I had to hunt down to see this movie. I mean, I'm not advocating piracy, but I did have to hunt down copies of the movie to see it somehow, because I wanted to watch the movie again. And it's not on Netflix. I looked for Netflix. They used to have Breakin' 2, The Electric Boogaloo on there, but they do not anymore. And it sounds ridiculous that those words even came out of my mouth. But anyway. So I was able to find, in Germany, they released these movies on Blu-ray. And I was able to find some rips of the German Blu-rays that came out and watch those. And they look really nice because they're in HD and they're in the proper widescreen ratio. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, I watched Breakin' growing up. Originally, I saw the movie when it was popular back in like 84 a million times, like every other kid did. That was my age. And everyone was trying to break dance, even me. But yeah, I remember seeing the movie then and liking it a lot as a kid. Years later, I watched it, and I just found it to be completely pointless and kind of dumb. Maybe I was going through a phase where I just, wasn't really into, like, cheesy movies from my youth. But now I've kind of gotten back into watching a lot of movies from my youth again. So I was like, okay, cool. This is cool. Like, I liked it. It was fun. It's completely stupid and just fun to watch. Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo is one of the most ridiculous movies you will ever see. If you like so bad it's good movies like Troll 2 and stuff like that, watch Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. You will be obsessed. They literally find a reason to just dance down hallways and streets for no logical reason in the movie, and it turns into these ridiculously huge dance sequences that are just fun to watch. It's a ridiculously fun movie. The first movie takes itself a little bit more serious. It seems kind of low budget actually when you watch it now, and there's a lot of dance montages in the movie, and it almost makes it seem like they had a bunch of dance montages and they just tried to tie it together with a plot. But yeah, so I know I love Breakin'. I mean, if you can track it down, it's not that easy to see anymore. But I did, I acquired a copy, and I enjoyed watching it. So that's cool. So I'm if you like these type of silly movies from the 80s that we grew up watching, if you're the same age as me in your late 30s, yeah, Breakin's a fun one to revisit. Breakin' 1 and Breakin' 2. And I don't know about Beach Street yet because I have never even seen Beach Street. So I know people probably like, I can't believe you didn't see Beach Street. But I will be checking it out soon. So, all right. So, well, that's perfect. I'm at the half-hour mark. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna go into my topic for this week because I had to come up with a topic, obviously. Because if I'm just gonna sit here and talk, I gotta have something to talk about. I actually did a little research on this topic as well. So, my topic for this week is going to be classic made-for-TV movies from like the 70s and the early 80s. I didn't go too far up. I'm saying like a couple years into the 80s. Most of them are from the 70s. Most of them are horror. But there are some drama. The thing is what's really weird now is made-for-TV movies have been pretty much relegated to like the Lifetime movies. You know, that section of like Lifetime stuff. And there's some good ones that come on. But it's like they're kind of a product now, and they're a certain thing. And they're on a certain network. It's on Lifetime is pretty much all you get decent made-for-TV movies on. Everything else that's a made-for-TV movie is either a miniseries that turns into a full series or otherwise. But yeah, I've always been a fan of certain made-for-TV movies growing up. I'm going to talk about what's probably the granddaddy of all classic made-for-TV horror movies that, everyone says is good if you've ever seen it. It's a movie. You can get it on Blu-ray from VCI Entertainment. They put out an awesome restored Blu-ray disc of it with bonus features and everything for a TV movie. But this is a very like a cult classic movie. It's called Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Now, growing up, I never saw this movie when I was younger. My buddy Pete used to watch a lot of movies that his mom recorded off of Channel 56. And I think that's where he got this one from, Dark Night of the Scarecrow. And he's like, oh, you got to see this movie. It's really creepy. And it was a made-for-TV movie. And I mean, at the time, I didn't question it. You used to be able to rent it on VHS. There was a couple of various VHS versions. They were horrible quality, but they existed. So this movie, Dark Night of the Scarecrow, all right, it has quite a few decent actors. It's got a guy named Charles Durning in it. What else was Charles Durning in? I can't remember off the top of my head, but when you see him, you know who he is. Larry Drake, the guy from L.A. Law, and he's done a million things. Actually, he was in a Phantom of the Opera, I think, remake or something like that at one point in time. I could be wrong about that. But Larry Drake plays a mentally challenged individual, okay, who, he's friends with this young girl in the town. And you've got this small group of and this is a small town, mind you. It's kind of like very, very like Midwestern kind of town. Does it say where it is? I don't think it ever says. Just a small rural town. Rural town. All right. So he ends up, he's friends with this girl, and you've got this small group of guys who live in the town. Apparently there had been some trouble with him before where he had almost hurt a little girl or something like that. And the townspeople have it out for him. So you got this small group of guys led by the local post office carrier. That's Charles Durning's character, who decide that, that he shouldn't be hanging around with this girl because something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. And they're just itching to lynch this poor mentally challenged man. And Larry Drake plays it. He's so good in this role because I honestly thought it was a real mentally challenged person that they used to star in the role when I was younger. Well, obviously now I know it's not, but he's amazing in this role. And so basically what ends up happening is an accident. I'm not trying to tell you the whole movie, but an accident ensues where the little girl ends up getting killed. And Bubba is the name of the mentally challenged guy that Larry Drake plays. He's freaked out, and he goes running home to his mom, and basically these guys, these local, these town folk, these like local town vigilantes or whatever you want. They go all vigilante and they decide, oh, we're going to take care of this guy. So they hunt him down and they kill him in this field. He hides in this field dressed as a scarecrow hanging on this thing so that they think it's not him. And then they find him and they kill him. All right. From that point on, it basically turns into like a slasher film where he keeps each one of these guys kind of they get what they're due, basically. But what makes this movie so great is the tone and the style. I mean, this movie is good enough to have been a theatrical film from the time period. It's got such a great style and a great tone. I mean, this is a movie that if you've never seen it, Dark Night of the Scarecrow, find a copy of it, wait until like 11 o'clock at night, turn the lights off, sit in your living room alone, watch this movie at night. I guarantee you it will creep you out. It's got a tone to it. It's got one of the coolest endings I've ever seen. And that's the thing with some of these made-for-TV movies. They had tone. Some of them were trying to copy the current trends of the time. Movies like The Exorcist and stuff like that. And movies that were popular at the time. Like these exploitation movies that were making money in the theater. A lot of them were trying to copy that. But there were ones that were original as well. But Dark Night of the Scarecrow is an awesome friggin' movie. It's available on Blu-ray in a really good version. You probably got to get it off Amazon, though, because I don't normally see it in stores. VCI Entertainment put it out. Definitely. It's also available on DVD. If you like this type of stuff, even if you're not really into the idea of a made-for-TV movie, just buy this movie because it's freaking awesome. It's creepy. It's cool. You will not be disappointed, actually. Everyone I've ever shown this movie to or has seen it says, wow, that's a scary movie. People remember this. It's one of those things where you see it on late night TV, it really makes like an impression on you, and you remember the end of this movie because it's really freaking creepy. But yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go on to the next one now. There's a movie now. You can only get this movie through Warner Brothers Archive Collection, which what they do is they put it on a DVD-R. And it has a cover and everything, but it's actually like a burnt disc. But it's a printed burnt disc, so it looks like a real disc for the most part. And you order it from like Amazon or through their website, through Warner Brothers Archive Collection. There's a made-for-TV movie, another great made-for-TV movie. And what's funny about these movies is, the name of the movie is Bad Ronald. And I'll get into that. I'll explain it in a second. But Bad Ronald is really cool. What's funny about these movies is, especially certain ones, they're very short. They're like 70, 75 minutes long because they used to have these like 90-minute movie slots back in the late 70s and early 80s. I think it's more like 70s than anything else. So like with commercials, the movie had to be around 75 minutes. It's almost like a longer short film. They're like Herschel Gordon Lewis length movies, But anyway, Bad Ronald. This movie, what's the year? Does it have a year? 1974. Actually, the year on Dark Night of the Scarecrow... Does it give it? I'm not sure if it even gives it. 1981. Okay, Dark Night of the Scarecrow was 1981. The year on 1974 is Bad Ronald. Bad Ronald is a cool freaking movie, all right? The main actor in this movie is, what's his name? Scott Jacoby is his name. And actually, Kim Hunter is in it too, from Planet of the Apes, the one that played Zira. Zira, yeah, it was Cornelius and Zira. On Planet of the Apes, the Planet of the Apes movies, she plays his mother. She plays Scott Jacoby's mother. And Scott Jacoby was in a movie called The Little Girl Who Lives on a Lane, which is also an awesome movie if you can find it, with Jodie Foster from the 70s. Cool friggin' movie. Dabney Coleman is in it. He plays somebody's parent. He plays one of the another character's father. But so you got those three guys. Scott Jacoby plays Ronald, this character Ronald. Okay. And basically the plot goes around, you've got this kid Ronald who's kind of an outcast. The other kids kind of make fun of him. He's kind of the odd duck out, And there's this younger girl. It's funny, both of these movies, Dark Night of the Scarecrow and this, have kind of a similar idea. Younger girl who's like giving him a hard time. And he gets in like a confrontation with her, and he grabs her and he kind of throws her back. And she ends up hitting her head and dying. And so he's freaked out because he's like, oh crap, I killed this girl. So he goes home and he tells his mother, and his mother, she's like, oh no, you're going to go to jail. We don't know what to do. So they end up walling in a section where there's a bathroom in the bottom. It's like the first floor. There's like this bathroom and like storage room kind of thing. And they end up walling that in and creating this little like door that he can get in, and he locks it from the inside. So they lock him in the wall of the house, and the mother says, you got to stay there because, you know, when they come looking for you, you can just, you know, I'll just say I don't know where you are, and they acted like he ran away. They made it look like he ran away. And so time goes on, the mother's kind of sick, and she ends up getting sick and having to go for an operation, but she ends up like getting hurt. She ends up dying in the operation. So what the basic premise of this is Ronald is living in the wall of the house, and a couple weeks go by and the new family buys the house, and he's got all these little holes in the wall, so the new family doesn't know that this kid is living in the wall of their house, and he's like watching everything they do. And you know, and the movie goes on from there. I don't want to give away the whole movie. It's a little tricky to get your hands on, but it's a great friggin' movie. And if you can get your hands on it, if you can see it, the movie's called Bad Ronald from 1974. It was a made-for-TV movie. It's just got a cool friggin' style. It's creepy. It's got like a voyeuristic thing going on to it. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Bad Ronald, that's one. All right, I'm going to move forward now. Again, I think I'm going to skip out of... I'm going to jump to something that's actually not horror. This movie, actually, this one might be a little tricky to get your hands on now, but it's from another 1974 made-for-TV movie, actually. And it's a movie called Born Innocent with Linda Blair. Basically, it's one of these like teen in trouble movies where I'll read you the description on the back of the box so you can get the idea. 14-year-old runaway Linda Blair is placed in the care of the state. She is soon to find out her existence means little to many, trapped in the uncaring bureaucracy that sometimes brutal treatment from her peers and her own abusive family. She will be hard-pressed to meet anyone willing to hear her unsung plea for help. And this version is apparently digitally mastered and uncut. Contains the original graphic rape scene. There you go. But this was shown on TV like this, actually. It's not horribly bad, but there's a crazy scene where she gets raped with like a broom handle in like a girls' reformatory school. But this is an awesome movie. It's just a troubled teen movie, you know. She's a problem. She gets locked up, then she turns into like this punk, and it reminds me of a movie called Bad Boys with Sean Penn, actually, if you've ever seen that. It's a movie about a kid that gets put into the system and, you know, what the system does to the kid. It's a really cool movie, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's very realistic, and it has kind of a raw quality about it. And I've always been a fan of this movie. It's called Born Innocent with Linda Blair. This is another made-for-TV movie from the 70s. See, there's so many great movies from the 70s, like, that were shown on television or whatnot. So, I mean, it's kind of cool to be going through these. This is a cool subject matter, and I hope that I actually, you know, influence somebody out there to go find these movies and actually watch them, because you won't be disappointed. You can get obsessed with this. Like, I get obsessed with made-for-TV movies, and there's a lot of crap out there. I bought a ton of friggin' cheapo made-for-TV movies that suck. But there's some good stuff as well. I'm going to jump a little ahead now, too, to the 80s, to a movie, I want to say it's like 1985. I don't have it right in front of me right now. It's a movie called The Midnight Hour. I actually saw this movie on TV when it aired, and I'm a big fan of this movie. It's just silly. It's got Sherry Belafonte Harper in it. It's got LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow. Basically, you get a bunch of kids that break into this old museum. It's a museum. A historical museum, and steal these costumes to wear to this Halloween party that they're throwing. It was a Halloween movie that was shown on TV back when I was a kid. And what happens is because they're wearing these costumes from the historical museum, and there might be a little bit more to that. They do some kind of ritualistic. Oh yeah, they get this parchment and they go and they read it in the graveyard or something like that, and basically they bring the dead back to life. And it's kind of a zombie movie, and like all these zombies come back to life and the kids get possessed, and it's a fun little movie. It was playing off what was popular in the theaters at the time, but it's kind of a softer version. It also has a great musical sequence where there's just this song called Get Dead that everyone just this is crazy. It's so trying to be Thriller. It's because Thriller was popular at the time, Michael Jackson's Thriller. There's a section of the movie where it turns into like Thriller and all the zombies dance and there's a singing sequence. Cool friggin' movie. I grew up loving this movie when I was a kid, and I've watched it a million times. Came out on DVD by Anchor Bay. It might not be that easy to find anymore, but I'm sure if you scour the interwebs, the internet, you can find some version of it out there to see. It's probably on YouTube. A lot of these movies are actually probably on YouTube if you just type in the titles. Because they were made for TV, so a lot of people just get away with putting them up on YouTube. But yeah, The Midnight Hour from like 1985, I think. Great movie, fun movie. That it's kind of horror, kind of camp. It's got some fun stuff going on. All right, so we'll go back to the horror stuff now. Actually, I'll talk about a new release, which I'm not sure if I talked about this on one of the other... I might have just brought it up. Scream Factory released, and I bought this in hopes that they'll release more, but that's yet to be seen. Scream Factory released a TV Terrors double feature, which is cool because they're both 70s TV movies, and they're pretty good quality as well. The double feature it's The Initiation of Sarah from... Do they give the dates on the back? The years? From 1978, The Initiation of Sarah. And they also has Are You Alone in the House? Are You in the House Alone? That's also a 1978 made-for-TV movie. They're both fun movies to watch. The Initiation of Sarah is cool because it's all about... It has to do with like witchcraft, and it's got friggin' Shelley Winters in it, and it's a young college... Okay, the description is, when Sarah, a young college freshman, joins a sorority to fit in with the popular kids, she encounters one problem. This sorority is run by a witch who knows that Sarah has supernatural powers. The witch encourages her to use her latent psychic powers to get revenge on her rivals. Thus begins The Initiation of Sarah. This is all-star cast. Somebody named Kay Lenz from Moving Violation, Morgan Brittany from Dallas, Morgan Fairchild says The Seduction, Shelley Winters, Catherine Crosby from The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, I don't know, and Tony Bill from Shampoo, and Tisa Farrow from Zombie. So there's some cool, I don't know, it's a fun movie. That one's fun. It gets a little draggy in some spots, but it's a fun movie to watch. It's got witchcraft, Shelley Winters, you can't beat that. And it seems like it was cashing in on Carrie, using the idea of Carrie. So they made a TV movie with a similar concept behind it, kind of like Carrie. So that one's a lot of fun. Are You Alone in the House is a fun one because it kind of plays out like an after-school special, because it's all about what's his name, Dennis Quaid plays this, and Blythe Danner is in it as well. Dennis Quaid plays this kind of swarmy rich kid that goes to school, and you find out that he's a bad person, and he basically goes around like beating and raping girls in the high school, and none of them rat him out because he's the rich kid and his family's rich. And so this one girl gets attacked by him, and it's all about her ordeal. It sounds very Lifetime stylistically, but they go for the horror more. It's more of a suspense thriller type movie, and it's really cool. It's called Are You in the House Alone? That one's a cool movie. This is the double feature from Scream Factory, so that's definitely one to check out. And that's available right now. Scream Factory TV Terrors. It's a double feature DVD. It only came out on DVD, which doesn't matter because most of this stuff is pretty lo-fi quality anyway. But... one I didn't even put in my pile here to talk about, but of course I have to talk about because it's kind of another big one in the TV, made-for-TV movies, is Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black. That movie came out in the 70s too. I want to say 78 as well because I don't have it with me right in front of me right now. Trilogy of Terror is freaking awesome. Trilogy of Terror, it was made by a guy named Dan Curtis who did Dark Shadows, and he did some made-for-TV movies in the late 70s. Karen Black plays the main character of each story. Actually, I was very inspired by this from my movie Hometown, and I was going to have my lead actress, Liza Biglietti, play the same character in each story, but that just didn't work out. So there's 3 stories in this movie. One of them's about a teacher who... this kid's obsessed with this teacher, and something happens. I don't want to give them away because they're short stories, and it kind of gives away the punchline. The second story is about this rich girl and her sister who have problems, and like I said, Karen Black plays the main character in each one. And the last story is probably one of the most notorious made-for-TV things ever. It's Karen Black plays this woman who gets a doll in the mail. It's a Zuni fetish doll. It's this wooden little tribal puppet type thing. And basically the doll comes to life in her house. Because there's a thing, if you read something and you take his necklace off, like these words, and you take his necklace off, he comes to life. And he attacks her, and it's like this doll attacking her in their house. It's an awesome little movie called Trilogy of Terror. So if you are so inclined to check that out, look that one up. Trilogy of Terror is a good one. I love Trilogy of Terror. These are all most of them are 70s actually, early 80s, made for TV movies, and they're great classic movies. I mean, I'm sure there's a million of them I'm forgetting because there's so many of these movies. But I'm just going to talk about a couple more here. Another one called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. This was remade by, it was produced by Guillermo del Toro, remade by somebody else. I can't remember the guy's name. I've never seen it. It's got Dawson's Creek there. That chick. The one that was married to Tom Cruise. I forgot her last name. But Katie Holmes. It's got Katie Holmes in it. This version doesn't have Katie Holmes in it, though. But this is a cool movie. It's from 1973. And it's basically about this woman and her husband that move into an old house. They inherit an old house in their family. It's in her family. And when she shows up at the house, there's a downstairs room. And in that room, there's an old chimney that's walled in. So basically, she wants to open it up so they can use the fireplace in the chimney. And the handyman says, don't touch the chimney, leave it walled in. And she's like, well, why? I want to open it up. He's like, just don't worry about it. He won't tell her why. But she's like, okay. So then she goes down there and tries to open it up herself. Basically, by opening this thing up, you let these goblin type things out, and they pop up in her house, and they terrorize her for a while. Her husband goes on a trip or something, and she's home by herself, and these little goblin things start terrorizing her. And this is another one that's only it's 74 minutes long. It's a lot of fun, a lot of creepy atmosphere. And I don't want to give it all away because there's some cool twists and some creepy things going on. But this is a cool movie. Check it out. I've never seen the remake. I don't know. It's probably really over the top. This is just very simple, creepy haunted house with some cool goblin type creatures in them. They're funny looking, but they're kind of fun to watch. The movie's called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. This movie probably scared the crap out of some little kids growing up, who saw this on TV late night or when it originally aired. But all right, and the last one I have over here, getting close to an hour, so that's good. Is a movie that I saw on TV as well, and this movie fucking scarred me as a kid. This movie terrified me as a kid. It's a movie called The Day After, all right? Not to be confused with The Day After Tomorrow, I think it's called, by Roland Emmerich, but same basic idea. The idea was it was during this whole period of time where everyone was worried about nuclear weapons. We still are, but everyone was really worried about the bomb, and if somebody was going to set the bomb off. And I think it's with Russia or something like that in the actual movie, the United States and Russia. And Russia, fires a nuclear bomb on the United States. And the whole thing is it deals with a select group of people. There's quite a few different actors in it too. JoBeth Williams, Jason Robards, Steve Guttenberg, John Lithgow. Basically, it follows these families, this group of families, and it's during, they're all dealing with their own life problems, and all of a sudden the bomb drops, and it's how everyone deals with it. And I'll tell you, one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in a movie, and it's a television movie, is watching a nuclear bomb explode and seeing people obliterated. And it's crazy. You deal with all the people. It's really, really strong material. And you deal with all these families who are terrified with it, and they don't know how to handle it. And then there are the survivors. And the second half of the movie is all about how people survive in this wasteland where there's nuclear fallout falling like snow everywhere, and people are getting sick, and all the hospitals are overcrowded because people are just showing up, and it's kind of got a Walking Dead vibe because it's the end of the world type of thing, and everyone is getting sick from the radiation. I mean, it is probably the most depressing thing you could ever watch. But apparently this was shown to the Congress and stuff like that in an attempt to get people to disarm nuclear weapons, which still hasn't happened. So I guess nothing didn't really help. This movie aired in 1983, and I remember seeing this movie on TV. Maybe it was rebroadcast a few times, but I definitely saw it. I would have been around 9. Yeah, 9 or 10. 8 or 9, actually. And wow. Man, this movie is rough. If you can get your hands on it, it's called The Day After. Yeah, it's got some cheesy elements because it's made for TV. Actually, it was also cut down because there's a longer cut of the movie. The version that's available is 2 hours and 7 minutes long. There was a longer cut of the movie available that had like extra footage in it, basically. I had it on Laserdisc with extra footage, but I don't think it's the exact same length as the Laserdisc version. This version that's available, but this apparently was like a 3-hour version of the movie, and they were going to do it as a 2-part TV event. But the guy who directed it, Nicholas Meyer, he also directed Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, said that basically the network was like, nobody's going to turn into night 2 of the apocalypse. Because back then, people were more skittish about that stuff. So they didn't think they'd get ratings on the second night. So they cut the movie down to fit like a 3-hour time slot with commercials. I think it was like 2.5 hours or something with commercials. Probably 2.5. If it's 2:07, it was probably 2.5 hours with commercials. But man, what a powerful movie. It's all about like people dealing with the bomb getting dropped. And it takes the subject matter very seriously. It's pretty damn depressing. And it ends on a real downbeat note, and it has like this message at the end of the movie that scrolls up the screen about how we need to disarm our nuclear weapons and all that stuff. This is powerful stuff. So, I mean, if you're into this, if you want to see, something kind of cool like this, it's a movie called The Day After. So that's worth checking out. So I'm going to kind of go and give you the titles again of what I talked about in this episode. These are all late 70s and early 80s made-for-TV movies. The Day After, we just talked about The Day After. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. The Scream Factory TV Terrors double feature, which has The Initiation of Sarah and Are You in the House Alone? Born Innocent with Linda Blair. Bad Ronald. Dark Night of the Scarecrow. The Midnight Hour. And Trilogy of Terror. Those are the ones that I brought up in this actual podcast. And they're all great friggin' movies. They're cool movies to check out, and I suggest you can get obsessed with these made-for-TV movies and start hunting down more and more of them. I mean, there's so many more of them. There's different genres. There's like teens in trouble genre that kind of feel like after-school specials. There's the horror movie ones that, there's plenty of those. I have handfuls of movies like this. But these are kind of like a best of. These are all good ones worth checking out. So, so I don't know. I guess that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Video Village. What did I say this was? Episode 7, right? Yeah, I think it was episode 7 of the Video Village podcast. If I'm wrong, listen to the beginning, and it'll actually give you the right episode. I'm pretty sure it's episode 7, though. Of the Video Village podcast. I want to bring up one more thing that I watched, and maybe I can talk about this in another episode at length. Maybe it'll be another topic. But I had a thing with American Horror Story, the TV show, and I wasn't too sure about it. I got back into it. I watched the second season of Asylum, which is freaking awesome. Definitely watch it. It builds to such a great conclusion. So I loved it. Then I went and I got season 1 and watched season 1 again, and I actually appreciated season 1 more. Season 2 is definitely better. Season 1, Murder House, is pretty freaking cool as well. So American Horror Story, check that out if you can get your hands on it. It's on Netflix right now. You can watch it on Netflix. You can probably find it online. It's worth checking out. But I think I'll get into TV shows in a different episode, and we'll talk about that a little more at length. But okay, so that is it for this week's episode of Video Village, and I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, there will be an episode at the beginning of next month, as long as I can get my buddy Mike down to record one with me, or if I get a guest or whatnot. If I can't do that, then it'll be another episode around the 15th of next month, which will be just another me doing my thing. All right, so thank you for listening, and I hope I told you some interesting stuff and turned you on to some cool movies. So, take care.